Well, hey there, how you doing? Dave Fenoy here. Another Wednesday, another Ask Dave Fenoy Anything. It is 6 p.m. Pacific, and here we are. Before we get started, I want to remind you once again, all the Ask Dave Fenoy Anythings live on my YouTube channel, Dave Fenoy Voiceover Training. If you are interested in voiceover coaching with me, just visit my website, davefenoy.com. Click on the Study VO tab at the top, and you can book yourself. Want to follow me on Twitter at Dave Fenoy VO. And let me just remind those of you who are looking to do some studying that you can do that. And oh boy, let's see. We've got a little, there he is. You can do some studying with me at a reduced rate for the holidays, a Christmas package. Just pop in Holiday 100. That is your code, and $100 will magically disappear from your 5, 10, or 20 sessions. All right. Let's say hello to our. I can hear them in the background, getting themselves together, and oh yeah. Well, there's their background. Let me go back here.
One of us is here.
I'll bring them on in just a second. Here we go. Ta-da! There she is, Joan Baker, and where's Rudy's? You got to pull up a chair or something?
No, I'm here. I'm right here.
Oh, okay. Have I got you on two different things?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I wish you'd told me that, because I could have set it up for that.
Do you want me to go meet with Joan?
Yeah, just go sit with your girl.
Okay.
Or you go sit with your guy. One or the other.
I think my guy's going to come sit with me.
He's going to come sit with you. And he told me while we were chit-chatting that you're coming down with something?
I already did. But it's not, I'm okay that way.
Yeah. Okay. And there he goes. And clearly this is live, off the cuff.
No,
who knows
Dave,
what's going to happen? And
exactly. But you know what, Dave? Leading up to the event, like 6 weeks after the nominations come up, it is so intense. I don't even know if Rudy and I could ever explain what happens between 6 weeks and the show.
Yeah.
Every year, something happens like afterwards. It's like everything, especially this year with the extra added notion of the potential strike. So it's like everything hit at once. Once it was over, it's like I held myself up. But once it was over, I was like, oh my God.
So many moving parts.
Yeah, sometimes your body kind of says, well, I'm going to hang in there. Oh, it's over? Oh, no.
That's right.
I can allow myself to not feel good, to let the germs do their thing. Yeah.
Is there really a feeling of, is it actually over? Did we get through it? Is it done?
Oh,
it's hard to believe when it's actually over.
You know, in so many ways, you guys are superhumans. You've been doing this, from 2006 when you started doing conferences until now. And and 10 years ago, you started the Voice Arts Awards and SOVAS.
Right.
And actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. Let's go back to where it really started, which was Secrets of Voiceover Success.
That's right.
And that started in 2004. The book, that's right. That's right.
Is that a signed copy?
You know what? I'm not sure it is signed. It probably is. I have it in my little library, and I said, well, no need to just show the book. I'm going to show that I've got the book. I'll tell you what it is. It's marked in different places where different people that I want to read what he had to say. I want to read what she had to say. This is not certainly the first voiceover book, but it is one of the first, and I think probably one of the most important, because it is the voiceover actors telling their story and giving tips and techniques and just the story of from nothing to what they were doing to their success.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll also say, it is the first book that has 21 different points of view. The original book had
That's
19.
the difference maker.
The second printing had 21. And it has all these points of view where when people read the book, they might resonate with your story, or they resonate with my story, or they resonate with Don LaFontaine's story. And it helps them to create a path for themselves, where before they didn't have anybody to kind of have a role model.
Yeah. Everyone just sort of assumed there was one way to break into the business.
Right.
And that was the big question. How do I break in? So we thought we need to let them hear various people, hear the stories from various voice actors who've become successful so that they can see there is no one way.
Okay, but
Also,
we're going on your journey now, and this hour is going to go by so fast. So I don't want to cut you off, but so you write the book, and I was very proud to be asked to write a chapter in it. And then you started promoting the book, and I remember going out to New York and to the parties to present the book and the dinners we had, and there's so many stories in there that I'm not going
so
to
many.
all of them.
I don't even know we could talk. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would take an hour in and of itself. But your idea for voiceover conferences came out of promoting the book and having all the voice folks there while you were doing that. What was that thought process?
Well, you were part of that process. I mean, you saw how long the lines were. You left there knowing that there were 100,000 questions that hadn't been answered yet, and there was no way to do that in an hour, in 2 hours, or 3 hours, which is what we were doing at that time. And so we said, well, we've got to do something bigger where more people can be a part of it, and more of the folks from the book can be a part of it, so that they can hear all the questions and get them all answered. I mean, it's an impossibility, really, in one night or in 3 days. But the idea was to make it bigger and more accessible for people to get all the information they needed to start moving forward with a career in some way, however that was going to be when they left the conference, the smaller conferences.
But I also think one of the exciting things as well is when we first started promoting the book in 2005, it started with the Learning Annex. I don't know if you remember that, Dave.
I do.
The Learning Annex, yes, the Learning Annex. And our particular seminar was called Make Millions with Your Voice. And the thing about the Learning Annex is a lot of their seminars are about make millions, making T-shirts, make millions, drawing postcards. So we were Make Millions with Your Voice. And about 3 years into it, they told us, the Learning Annex told us that out of all the events they did since 1980,
Wow.
they said that our seminar, Make Millions with Your Voice, was the most successful seminar out of all of them.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And so things like that really fed us to plant the seed to create seminars. And then the second one we did outside of the Learning Annex was at the Museum of the Moving Image in New York City. The Museum of the Moving Image is, they have all the behind the scenes that happen in film and television. And we thought, what a fitting place to have from Make Millions to Your Voice to really Secrets of Voiceover Success. That was an extraordinary event.
And the curators at the museum, they wanted to be voice actors too.
Everybody wants to be a voice actor. And I remember
they were
that.
Really excited about bringing it
I was there for that. You invited me to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And
Alan Coulter was hosting. Don LaFontaine was there.
It was hysterical. But also everyone was just blown away by our industry. And this kept rolling over and rolling over. We also donate the proceeds to the Alzheimer's Association as well as the Museum of the Moving Image. So we were also donating as time goes on. We still donate. Now we're donating to the Muhammad Ali Center. So they have a mission where that what we donate goes to kids. Muhammad Ali got his bike stolen when he was 9 years old. And so 12? Okay. When he was 12 years old. And so he started to fight to get that
bike back. Because when I got my bike,
that's right.
I'm going to float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and he going to give that bike back to me.
Well, a police officer apparently caught him before he got into the fight and took him over to the gym to show him that there's this boxing ring and you can practice here. And that's how his boxing career started, from
Wow.
wanting to get some payback over that bicycle.
Right, but kids is his mission, and also
Yeah.
keeping his legacy alive, and that's what we donate to now today. And our partners are the Muhammad Ali Center, and they sponsor the Muhammad Ali Voice of Humanity Honor Award, which was created by a renowned sculptor, and Rudy, the design, and Lonnie Ali, and the design of the bust. And let me tell you, so much went into that. So much detail. Were we going to do a bust that had him older, middle-aged, when he was, at his height as boxing,
And the big one, whether his mouth
ahead.
would be open or closed. Now, if you notice, if you ever look at busts of sculptures, it's rare that you will find the mouth open
Yeah.
because it's very difficult for a sculptor to do that and maintain a resemblance of the person that they're sculpting. So it's very rare to find a sculptor with the mouth open. So we insisted that had to be a part of Ali's legacy.
Because his mouth was open quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't. It was rare to see it closed.
Right.
So
Right.
that's actually a very unique aspect of this bust.
It's interesting because I bet a lot of people who are watching haven't paid that close of attention to the bust to remember his mouth open, his mouth closed. But it's the kind of attention to detail that you guys have to pull off the events you have pulled off for these many years. I mean, we're going back to 2006, starting with the Learning Annex. What gave you the idea that an award show for voiceover would work?
Ooh, well, it wasn't about whether it would work or not. It was really about working with people like you and Joe and Don and so many others who came in to do That's Voiceover as speakers and to share their knowledge, that we became really sensitized to just how much each of you puts into your career, and that it's not a hobby, that it's your life, it's your lifestyle, it's everything to you, and no one was acknowledging it. And we thought the experience that you guys have and the craft that you've mastered is so extraordinary. How could it just fall away in the shadows with no one stepping out to celebrate it? And so that was the reason. It was only after getting really close to you guys that we said, we've got to create something, and it can't be a little acrylic trinket off the shelf. It's got to be special.
Yes,
So, yes.
Dave. Yes, legacy.
And we said, we wanted to create something that people can hand down to their kids and that it would stay in their families.
Right.
And be something that they could be treasured. And so that the voice arts community could be recognized for the talent, the artistry,
excellence.
To really put it on the map and say, yeah, I declare that the work I do is extraordinary, is
and
artistic,
meaningful,
yes,
and has impact. Being a voice actor myself, and Rudy knowing my journey, especially up, of course, until the secrets of voiceover success, I used to tell him things. In New York, we had to audition before the pandemic. It was always live in casting directors' offices, talent agents. It was never at home. So, I'm in the waiting room all the time auditioning and listening to people talk and me talking to other people. One of the biggest complaints I'd heard was that we never, as voiceover talent, got recognized. Every other industry gets recognized except for the voice actors. And that always stuck out to me. And I would tell that to Rudy, just not like we have to do something, but just this is what's in the air. And when I say people would complain about it, I'm talking top-notch people in the industry. So in the audition halls, it would be top-notch industry people that would constantly, almost the morale
I've done
awareness.
this. All those on-camera and on-stage actors get recognized.
Yes.
Just because
Yes.
they don't see me doesn't mean that
That's
I
right.
don't.
Also musicians and singers, they get recognized.
Absolutely.
Huge, right? But
there's no respect for it. Even actors didn't want you to know they were the voice of certain commercials.
True that.
Right?
And,
even top actors kept that,
you're about to take us down a road that will take a lot of time. How many A, B, and C list actors have taken over jobs from traditional voiceover
Right.
people. We're not
Yeah,
going there
Right.
the
tonight. We're
journey.
not going there tonight, but
Right.
sticks in a lot of our craw. And there's a plus and a minus to it with especially the animated films. But
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when you did that first SOVAS award show, there were a lot of people who had some misconceptions either through jealousy or not understanding how award shows work.
So it works.
Yes.
And I have even heard it up until this point.
I was just going to say.
People would say, well, how come I have to pay money to enter? And it doesn't even get me a nomination. It just gets me considered. And if I win the award, why do I have to pay for the award? And frankly, up until that time, I hadn't really thought about it. But once I did, I discovered that every award show, if you're talking about Grammys, if you're talking about Oscars, if you're talking about People's Choice, whatever the award is,
Whatever it is.
televised
Audis.
hardware,
The Audis.
the Audis,
You know, Joan
somebody
came up
is,
with the perfect analogy.
yeah, somebody
Which
is paying to,
For the award.
well, somebody's paying for the award, somebody's paying for an entry fee.
Yes, right.
Yes.
And especially with the big boys and girls, the Grammys, the Oscars, and
Right.
so forth, some production company or producer is paying oodles of money
Yeah.
for a campaign to make sure that you get nominated
right.
and hopefully win.
Right.
Behind every one of those nominations with the Oscars, millions of dollars have gone into a campaign that's gone on for weeks.
Yeah, I'll tell you what else.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what else that I heard when you did that first one. Who are they
Yeah.
to put together a voiceover award show? What it?
Yeah.
And I'm reminded of anybody could have done it, but nobody did.
Exactly.
So you got to
Every-
do
any-
somebody
anyone who's
has
ever
to.
created anyone who's ever created anything of note was a who are they at some point. So for us, we saw it not because we thought this will work, but because we thought this is needed, and we set out to get it done. What was going to happen was going to happen. It was a surprise to us when we saw the kind of feedback.
Surprised.
Well, really, it was the fact that people were so unaware of the business model. We came from the corporate world. I came from working in corporations, in television, and in advertising. So I was used to awards. It meant it was no big deal to me. I understood the business model.
But so did everyone at all the television networks, all the advertising. Everyone knows.
Yeah. What I didn't realize was that we were tapping into a community that had never had this before.
Yeah.
And so they didn't know how it worked. They were really surprised by it. And we had to start an education process. And while trying to teach people how the process works, and in some cases sharing how the Emmys work and how the Clios work and how the Tellys work so that they could see this is not a new model. While doing that, there were people on the other side of the equation sharpening their teeth and saying it ain't so. Saying, no, it's this way.
No, it's pay to play.
Yeah, it's a pay to play.
You got to pay for your nomination. It was just a constant thing, and it's still relentless, Dave. It's still relentless.
Well, I'll
Quite as
tell you,
bad.
Yes, it is.
The
somebody must be
understanding of
walking a dog outside. Um,
I mean, Joan's right. It still goes on. I still get
Salted.
dog break. Take a doggy break. A commercial.
Sultan, come here. Come here. Oh, let him. Come on.
Aw.
We just needed to get on camera. Just needed a cameo.
Oh, by the way, Mo sends her apologies. She and her mother went to the movies this evening.
Oh.
So I
So
said,
she's not going to make a cameo.
you're not going to pop in and say hi? She's, well, I really want to, but going to, oh, hold on one second.
Okay.
It is a live show, isn't it?
Hi, everybody. We can't see you, and we don't see your questions.
Yeah,
Yet.
but I hope you have
But we're
some.
saying hello. Thank you for joining us.
What I was just about to say, Dave, was even yesterday I got an email from someone saying, well, we're so thrilled that we got an award. It was someone in Nigeria. When can we expect the award to arrive? I said, oh my God, they haven't read anything.
Oh
So I
boy.
directed them to the page where they could understand how the process works. But there is a business model afoot. It's not a new business model. It's the way awards programs work. And
All
I
of them.
hope folks, yeah,
Right.
will eventually understand that.
But it's similar to if let's just say I apply to Juilliard and then I apply to Carnegie Mellon and then I apply to NYU. I have to pay a fee for that because it takes work to process, right?
Yeah. So there's an application fee when you go to college.
Right.
Doesn't guarantee you're going to get
No,
into the
it doesn't
college,
mean I get
but
into
you pay the
Juilliard.
fee and they
Right.
review it. And if you do get in, you pay to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
You know,
no one questions that.
I've got already some questions. I'm gonna pop one up here, Terry
Oh, okay.
Briscoe. Joan and Rudy, thanks for being here. Oh boy, it's a long one. So, having to always
Having-
go bigger and better in the entertainment industry, what, if any, plans do you have to move SOVAS forward in the future? And I didn't read this question beforehand, but one of the things you mentioned that you wanted to talk about was finding someone to take over SOVAS?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've reached a point where we're looking at what is the 3-year plan for bringing a successor on. In time for Joan and I to help them make the transition.
But the point is that we want to take it to a different level other than what Rudy and I have done in the last 10 years. I mean, there are people out there that could take it to a whole other level.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
No,
whoa. Just
that's
hold,
not what I mean.
back up just a
That's
moment. Do you realize the level that you've already taken it
Yes.
to? And
Yes,
where,
exactly.
Yes.
how, and what a level you started on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at some of the early ones here. I believe it was the first one with James Earl Jones, or maybe it was the second
Yes.
one. Come on. You
Yeah.
have al-
What
you
what
have
Joan
al-
is,
you have
what Joan is
always
talking
had
about is carrying it
top-notch
further.
people who have done voiceover, A-list actors showing up, accepting these awards, making wonderful speeches. I can't
Yes.
tell you how excited I was to be the announcer when James Earl Jones was
Yeah,
there.
that's right,
I
Dave.
I took a picture with him. He told me it was his first selfie, and I was going to pull
Oh,
it out, but I couldn't find it in time. But this is the
Yeah.
kind of talent you bring in an award, and they come to accept the awards and feel a
Yes.
part of the voiceover community,
they
as
do.
well as some of us who feel like we are journeyman voiceover actors. We're not
Yes.
movie stars. We make a
Right,
real nice
Dave.
living. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but we are not the so well known people that some of the people that you bring in are, and I find that is amazing. Just Sigourney Weaver, Rosario Dawson, my buddy Phil Lamar, Van Jones, Nancy
Billy
Cartwright,
Tomlin.
Lily
And Ken
Tomlin.
Burn. And I'll tell you something, when we invite these people, we don't just send a letter and they send back a yes or no. When they want to do it, they investigate.
Yes.
They interview us. James Earl
Yes.
Jones had us come to his dressing room while he was doing a play on Broadway to meet us because he wanted to know who we were and what we were about as people. Not on paper. He wanted to see us face to face and talk to us. And so we went to his dressing room and met with him. And by the time that meeting was over, he took both our hands and told his son, "Come and take a photograph." We didn't ask, "Can we take a picture before we leave?" He
Right.
told his son to come take a photograph. And we both leaned in like this. He said, "No, no, stand tall and take my hand."
Wow.
And then
Wow.
from there, he went on to Good Morning America, and they proclaimed the Voice Arts Awards the Oscars of voice acting.
Yeah. So I mentioned that story with James Earl Jones and the other folks who, icons, celebrities that we've had on. They investigate. They talk to us.
Yeah.
They want to know what we're about.
And
Versus
what
some of the people
society's
who know nothing about what they're talking about. And they're all over the internet spewing garbage and vitriol and stupidity.
Right.
And not one of them has ever stopped to say, "Hey, Rudy, can I talk to you about what you're
We
doing?"
don't know them. We don't know them. We've never spoke to them. They've never spoke to us, or made any kind of coming to us to say nothing. We have never
Yeah.
met them, and at
Yeah.
this point, I never will.
Well, I think it's interesting. You've always had some naysayers. I think early on it wasn't just
Even
people
with
who,
secrets, even with
even with
secrets with
secrets,
voiceover
who are
success.
you to do this?
Yeah, it's
And
like,
I wasn't included, and I feel like I should have been included. But especially with the Voice Arts Awards, who are you to
yeah,
do this? Um,
yeah,
and why does it cost me money? And I,
and
I'm
people,
I'm not going to
and
be a
there.
part of it, and I think it's a sham. And you guys are just making money. And yeah, exactly.
Can
I've
I
I've
just?
had
If
the
they
same
said,
thing. I've had the same thing with Backyard Jazz when we were doing it.
Oh,
We're
really,
going to be doing
Dave?
it again. People, I've had good friends come up to me, yo, man, you making a lot of money doing this. Man,
No.
I'm lucky if I don't lose money.
That's right. And
right,
it's the
yeah,
same thing with us. It's not that we're not lucky we lose money. There's always some huge sacrifice. And recently I did an article for a magazine, and it was all about being an entrepreneur. So one of the things that came up was, sacrificing. What have you sacrificed? And I told you recently, Dave, that in the year 2017, Rudy and I had to sell our condo to make Lincoln Center work. And I don't know anyone. I don't know one troll that would have done that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a. I mean, you have to have a tolerance for risk to do something like that.
Right.
It wasn't a blind choice. We thought about it long and hard, and
Well,
we
short
looked
and
at the
hard.
projections,
Short and
and
hard.
uh, and we knew that it was going to take a while for this organization to pay us back. But we literally put $250,000 into it to ensure that it would have a life. And and here we are on the 10th year anniversary, with Viola Davis and Eugenio Derbez and Mabel Cesar taking the stage and sharing their wisdom, along
And
with all the other great voice actors who submitted work into
something else I
the
want to
stage.
bring up with you guys and pat you on the back for is inclusion. There were African voices, Spanish voices, Portuguese voices, as well as
Japanese,
Japanese voices,
Mandarin.
Mandarin voices,
Yes.
um,
Arabic.
Arabic.
Arabic. My buddy Ahmed, and uh,
Yes.
and someone had gotten in touch with me. A young lady had gotten in touch with me. Oh, about 3-4 months before this. Oh, I'm trying to get in touch with Joan and Rudy. I know you know them. We'd like to be a part of That's Voiceover and the Voice Arts Awards this year. I swear, you're probably going to need to talk to them about next year. And I was glad that finally they were able to get together with you. But people don't understand how much work this is.
Yeah.
And once again, I want to pat you on the back for how many people from a wide range of languages that you
Yes.
include.
Yeah.
Yes, including the audio description community, which are people who have low vision or are fully blind. They're a whole other community
Yeah.
that is underserved and underappreciated, and it's really a joy to bring that community into play and to see how even the folks who do audio description, the describers,
Yes.
have carry a joy in their hearts because they know how beneficial that work is to
At,
someone out there who can't see.
at the
Right.
table I was sitting at, those young gentlemen, Joel, I do not remember his last name,
Oh, yeah. Joel Snyder, Dr. Joel Snyder. Right.
who that is what he does. Uh,
Yes.
he brings people in and trains them to be audio descriptors. And it is its own unique talent and skill. Uh,
Yes.
you, you,
Yes.
you can't be out front and I'm performative. You're just telling people what's going
Just
on,
Yeah.
intimate.
things that they
Yeah.
And he
can't
did
see.
he did conduct a seminar at That's Voiceover on audio description where four actual audio description jobs
We're at
were at
stake.
stake for two people. So two audience members, each won two jobs.
And the callbacks were on stage. So you got to see the process. Remember, that's voiceover is about revealing what goes on behind the scenes. That's voiceover the way we curate the panels, it's all buyers. So it's buyer based. It's a buyer based conference,
So
right?
what undergirds all of that for us, the filter through which we put all the panels through is, will this get people working?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
going to be on the stage, it needs to be something that will help people get trained
Benefit.
and to get jobs.
Speaking of which, the Spotlight, the CBS Spotlight, where
Yes.
somebody wins and actually gets the job to do promos for a
Yes.
local TV station.
And if they don't have representation, they get it. And they also get, I don't know, $2,500 worth of equipment. And we're talking Sennheiser 14s and also the TLM 103.
Wow.
The swag bags were out of control. But yes, it's a whole thing that we have poured ourselves into. The Talent Spotlight actually started in 2009 here in New York City. But every year it gets bigger and bigger, more submissions. One of the reasons why we get so many submissions is because it's actually for free. That particular CBS is a union job, and because it's a union job, you can be going to the seminar and have a ticket, but you can also apply if you don't have a ticket. So this year we had like 1,800 submissions, but it's because it's free.
And as casting should be, nobody should be paying money to audition. Anybody ever ask you to pay to audition, something's wrong. Run in the opposite direction.
You mean like the pay-to-play sites?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is exactly what you're doing.
So what we do with the Audition Spotlight is we allow anybody from anywhere in the country. The job does have to be, you do have to be within the contiguous United States to get that job.
Right. That's their standard.
But anybody can audition. And if you audition and you make it to the second round, you're allowed to come into that voiceover so you can complete the second part of the audition.
Right.
So there's no price for anyone. But, out of 40 people who got called back, 38 of them bought tickets anyway.
Right.
Wow.
Because by the time they got to that part of the process, it had filtered down to them how much value there was in the show in general in those 3 days. And they said, well, I may as well get the whole thing going now. So it works out.
What were some of the, ordinarily I'm there all the days, whether I'm doing anything or not, just to be, breathe in the voiceover air. I had a particularly busy week. I was certainly there to pick up my award. But
that was the best.
Friday and Saturday, I had other things to do, but I would check in. I've seen on Facebook from friends of mine the things they were doing. What were some of the exciting panels that you had this year?
Well, let's talk about Meta.
Okay, and there's two I'd want to talk. Okay, so Meta did something that was really miraculous. Michelle Mitchell, who basically keynoted that panel, she brought in a couple people toward the end. But what she did was she broke down how to really use Instagram, Threads, and Facebook to promote your business.
And Reels.
To promote yourself.
And Reels, yeah.
And Reels are a big deal now. That's probably the fastest growing advertising component of Meta. And so she really demonstrated little details that you just wouldn't necessarily be able to figure out from Googling around and going into, chat rooms and so on.
And also the information, literally people were like, oh, you could hear the gasps because they were things that we wouldn't necessarily know, even though we're on that platform all the time. So she really went out of her way, I thought, to create something palpable.
It was hands-on. It was like, okay, pull out your phones.
Right.
Go here, go there, click this. Change your profile picture if it doesn't resemble one of these. Things like that. But what made it really powerful
was interactive.
Was that she shared how she came to be at Meta and how she went through. She had been a George Washington University educated lawyer for 10 years before she kind of had a crisis of
conscious.
What her I guess you could say that for lack of a better word. And she went on a search to look for what she could do that would allow her to explore her creativity once again. And that's how she kind of came around to working at Meta, where they gave her the opportunity to really create a cultural point of view.
That brings me
for
to another
corporations.
question here. Is there any way people can see uh, what happened? See this meta presentation?
We are going to put them all together as modules and put them online where people can get to them. But we're too busy this week
Oh,
Right.
oh, you mean
and for the next few weeks.
you mean you
But
haven't
yeah,
done it already, even though you just got back?
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Uh,
Also, also
but yeah, everything was recorded.
we're going to be doing we're planning this. So this is in the planning stages at the Paley Center. We're going to do something similar with her there with a couple of other voiceover kind of aspects. So we're planning to do that in the next couple months.
But
Excellent.
one of the questions that I get often whenever we do that's voiceover, whether it's in New York or Los Angeles, I get someone from the opposite coast saying, "This looks great. When is it going to come here?" And I just want to say to anybody who, wherever you are, this is not the kind of thing you wait for to come to you. It's
Yeah.
just too rich. It's just too involved. It's just too packed full of juicy stuff for you to think it will just kind of be materialize all over again the next year. Lucky. You'd be lucky if that happens. Don't wait for it to come to you.
Especially if
Go
this
to
is
it.
about your career. Just like doctors go to seminars, they're not waiting for them to come to their area, they go to them. That's how you learn and grow. That's part of the journey. And whatever it takes, that's what Rudy and I are doing. We're literally doing whatever it takes. We sold our house to do
Yeah.
whatever it took.
When you told me that, my jaw dropped. I want to allow some other questions in here.
Sure.
LC, thank you for your creation and efforts, Joan and Rudy. What changes would you like to see in our VO industry?
Inclusivity. That's a big one. I'd like to see more transparency in the hiring of people of color for work that represents us. That's the biggest one. And that's something that when I say that, I mean behind the scenes as well. It's got to be on the side of the casting directors and the creatives, the people who create the work. They have to, if you write a black character or Latino character into the script, then you find those people to do the work. If you don't have any people of color in the script, you stop and you think about why not, and how do I incorporate that, because the world has a certain appearance, and that appearance includes all the people,
Yeah.
not
Well,
small.
there some people, their privilege doesn't always allow them to see what's missing. I
That's
know when
true,
you're
Dave.
black, Latin, Asian, gay,
That's
if you
true.
are one of those people, we notice right away who's
Sure.
here and participating, and and
Yes.
and why am I not represented?
And I say, if you're not a person of color, be smart enough to know that you need to get people of color
Yeah,
into your organization to make up the difference.
yeah.
Be
Charles
smart enough to know that.
Charles the Voice, he came up to me after the award and had some really nice things to say. But he says, "Hi, Dave, Joan, Rudy. What was a standout moment from the conference for each of you? I know what mine were." Well, of course you know what yours were.
Well, I'll tell you, one standout moment for me was your presentation.
Ah,
I'm talking about you and
You're
you and
like,
Joe
yeah,
on stage. For those folks who are very new to the industry, they may not recognize what a moment in history that was. And at some
truly.
point in your career, you're going to start looking back. You're going to start reflecting back on the history of the medium that you're taking part in, and you're going to realize that Joe Cipriano and David Fenoy on stage was a unique and special situation in and of itself, yet alone with all of us paying homage to your greatness
Dave.
and your legacy in this business.
well,
So that was a standout
with
moment
that,
for me. That was a moment.
let me just throw that picture up.
So I was backstage in tears.
I was in the audience in tears, and not only that, Dave. If people gave you the most incredible standing ovation I think I've ever heard.
Yeah. So that was a standout moment.
It was incredible.
Absolutely. Another one was Anya O'Hare,
Uh-huh.
who did a live casting call with 7 members from the audience.
And Charles was one of them.
And
He was one of the DreamWorks
oh, okay.
7.
And DreamWorks, it wasn't Joan or me or any of the judges that we typically work with. It was the DreamWorks staff that went through all of these auditions and picked the 7 people who would be able to come up on stage and perform with Anya.
And there was about 105 submissions, and you had to have a ticket.
Yeah. So when I saw Anya on stage working with them, she's just a master.
She's such a genius.
Casting director. And I think what she demonstrated was something you haven't seen the everyday voiceover coach do, or a casting director.
Right.
You saw what someone does when everything's on the line and the job is at hand. That's what she demonstrated. This has got to go to the theaters next week or to television next week.
Right.
We're going to get this done.
There was an urgency about it, right?
So you got to see what it takes. I mean, she was at one point on her knees, working with an actor. I don't remember what the moment was.
I saw that picture, and I wondered what.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you saw the picture.
So you realize that directors put in as much heart and soul as the actor does in order to draw out an extraordinary performance. And an actor appreciates that.
That's why so many voice actors say, when I'm directed, I'm really, I really become full. That's when I do my best, as opposed to when I audition by myself, right?
And one of the things we have to do now, because we all have home studios, is turn on our inner director. I know when I'm teaching, that's one of the major things I'm trying to get across is we have to stop thinking about, oh, how do I say these words? We have to go to, I'm an actor who happens to be in this particular situation. And you got to start thinking like a director. What is the movement? What am I thinking beyond the words that I'm saying? What am I feeling?
Right.
What am I wearing? How far away is that person? You've got to block the scenes in your mind and bring that sense of movement. I had a session the other day, and that's how I think, but I love it when I have a director, and had a couple people were directing, the main director and somebody who was kind of his backup. And I was doing these lines, and the second director said, Dave, we're loving what you're doing. But let's think about the movement of this scene. Let's imagine that he's not just saying this, he's doing this thing as he's saying it. And I can't tell you how much life that brings to your performance. And it's I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh, great idea. But we have to do that ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to start blocking those scenes.
And how it lands. You have to even visualize how it's landing. And that, to me, is how you can start to self-direct yourself, how things land, as opposed to thinking, how am I going to say these lines?
Yeah. That's where the acting experience really pays off. And that's why we went out of our way to work with Stella Adler, Academy of Acting, to create a scholarship for 2 people. Every year we give a scholarship to 2 people who get to do 3 semesters for free at Stella Adler so that they can learn acting and see how they can make use of it in their voice acting.
Oh, because it's so far beyond just your voice and your read and how fantastic you sound. I tell people, look, when you're playing back your audition, the question isn't, do I sound good?
Right.
Do you believe the performance? Do you believe this character?
Right. Yes.
If you have that, you have it. I've had so many students that have come to me because somebody told them they've got a great voice, and I discover they have a great voice, and they might have some acting ability, but they're too stuck in listening to their voice.
Their voice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Too much doing. People are so focused on doing a great audition, they forget about finding an inspired performance.
Yeah.
Because even in your audition.
That's what gets the job.
Yeah.
I've auditioned actors for film roles, and the ones that left me thinking I was sitting in a performance and had me forget I was casting, they're the ones who booked.
That's a great one.
I forgot you were casting. I was casting. I thought I was in the theater.
Yeah.
Those are the people that knock it out of the park for me.
Take the words off the page, baby. Take the words off the page.
Yeah, that's the other one, the reading. Yeah.
I know we've got about 15 minutes here, and I know I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room, the sword of Damocles that was hanging over your heads as Sunday approached. Months and months and months ago, you booked the Beverly Hilton, which is one of the premier places for events and awards to happen.
Yes.
It may be the premier place. I've
Yeah.
had the pleasure of announcing there
Me
for
too.
some Grammy Music Cares and Oscars, Governors Awards programs. And then, months after you
Right.
booked it, for God knows, I don't know how much money.
Oh!
There's a hotel union workers strike, and
Yeah.
you get word that they're going to be picketing the Beverly Hilton. I didn't find out about it until last week.
Like, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Suddenly, I guess it was last Sunday. I had gone to a football game, me and Sip and Jay Michael and a couple other people, and we're watching the Rams get beat. And suddenly, people are, hey, Beverly Hilton is being struck and so forth and so on. And, you union people probably shouldn't go to this thing. And then the union put out, they didn't say don't go, but they did say, well, this is happening. If you're
What they
contract,
said was, if you had a contract, if you're contractually obligated, you should go.
yeah. And I felt like I said I was going to go, so I'm contractually obligated. I live, my word is a contract for me.
That's exactly
Same
right.
with us.
That's exactly right.
We had no choice.
So yeah,
But-
we found ourselves in the middle of a firefight between two warring parties, and we didn't have a weapon.
Both of whom you support.
Yeah.
Right.
So and then
Right.
so we put out social media posts in support of SAG-AFTRA. We're behind it. Joan is a SAG-AFTRA member. She got the same letter that everybody else got,
It was great.
and what we discovered was that no one else got that letter. And perhaps that's because SAG-AFTRA during the early months of that strike, weren't paying any attention to it because they had their own strike to deal with.
Yes.
And but the Griot Awards took place there, 6 weeks ago. They didn't get a letter.
I was the announcer at the Rio Awards.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right, Dave.
No one asked you not to go, right?
Well,
You didn't get a
actually, it wasn't a thing. I did all the work from home.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So it was only.
I
it
had
was
no
only
idea.
your voice-
I had no
it was only
idea
your
this strike was
voice.
going on.
But you still didn't get an email, right?
No, I did not.
Right.
I did not.
So so it felt like someone singled us out. It felt like a stab in the back. But at the same time, I did realize people have to take their own moral position on these kinds of things. You can't push it one way or the other.
It's one
I
thing.
wasn't interested in.
One thing to take a moral position. It's another thing to tell out and out lies.
Lies.
The airport Hilton was not being struck,
Right.
but
Correct.
But it was said that was also
some nether
being-
son of a gun put pictures of striking
Who?
the nether
Oh.
voice.
Yeah.
Put
Oh,
these
right.
pictures
That
of people
jackass.
striking and made it seem and said basically that hotel as well was being struck when it just was not.
I have
Um,
to tell you, Dave, it is hard to keep up with the relentless trolling and rumors that guy puts out. I can't even, first of all, we don't follow him. We have nothing to do with him. So it's
I heard-
people that come to us.
I heard people that said, well, the union told them that they'd help them get their money back and find them another
No, they
location.
didn't.
And I'm like, well, first of all, how would you know?
How would you know that?
Yeah, we had no discussions with the union about it. The first time the union had anything to do with it,
It was
from our standpoint, was that letter they sent out to everyone. which fortunately they retracted later after the strike ended,
Right. But
and encouraged people to go. But of course, by that time, there were folks who had
Some
already,
people made other plans or
but
couldn't get
yeah.
but
flights.
the truth of the matter is we signed our contracts in March and April, long before any strike. Also, part of our contract is if we backed out, we would owe them hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So when the strike came along, had we said we're not doing it because of the strike, we would have had lawsuits. We would have, So what
We
Rudy and
would have
I,
been in breach of contract. As long as
right,
the Hilton could provide 100% of the services they promised,
then we,
you got to go through with it.
or
And
lawsuits.
again, you talked about being your word. That was our word. We signed a contract. It wasn't just a legality. It was also our word. We're going to bring this project to your hotel, and we're going
And
to celebrate.
months.
And we also had our word to ourselves and to the community that we celebrate, which is that we're going to bring the 10th anniversary Voice Arts Awards to you, and it's going to be spectacular. And we're going to stand by that, and we're going to make that
I
happen.
mean, really, can you imagine people coming from Japan and China
In South
and
Africa,
South, I mean, and us saying we're going to be backing out because there's a strike. And it has nothing to do with them either. By the way, the Beverly Hilton is a privately owned. And so 85% of the people that work there were not under that union. 15% were.
yeah. So there's
So,
a lot people don't even really understand about
yeah,
it because it wasn't like the place was shut down, like there was a work stoppage.
they were still
So,
working.
which is one of the reasons that the strikers hired a company to do a lot of the work on their behalf.
Right.
I don't know what you'd call this kind
Now,
of
we
company.
can't strike ourselves, but we'll hire some.
Right. We
Yeah.
can't stop working, but we'll hire you.
Yeah.
So they hired a company that would call that would scrape the internet for contact information and call people and tell them don't go. So that was going on all the time, and we were in constant discussions with the Hilton management,
Oh,
not the catering
yes.
in the sales department, but with the top management. We need to know what you're doing about this. We want to know
Right.
why you haven't settled it.
Yeah, like
What is the
what?
problem? Help us
Right.
get there with you. What are you going to do for security? There's a war in Israel and Gaza now, and there are issues around that. And we're bringing a global community here. What are you going to do to protect us?
This is while we're planning the event, which
Yes.
is no joke.
And
Yeah.
this isn't just us sending a postcard. We hired a lawyer and worked on these letters together, and
That's right.
and got their brass on the phone. So we're going back and forth, but we've never had to deal with that kind of thing to produce a show. But it was
Well,
important that people feel safe,
I'm going to say
and we
one.
wanted to be prepared.
I'm going to say something about you guys. Every step of the way in doing all these things, you're doing something you've never done before. But
Yes.
each and every time, you have stepped up. You, from the very beginning, you brought a sense of class to the things you're doing. You guys did the first voiceover convention, the first voiceover show, first voiceover awards show,
Yes.
and it's always been top notch. But every year it's gotten better. What would we say, from the DoubleTree to the Beverly Hilton, um,
Right, Dave. Right.
from the DoubleTree to the Beverly Hilton, baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and I think there's a huge lesson for all of us in that that you just have to start, and you have to do your best, and you have to take in the best ideas. I know it's Joan and Rudy, but I bet you're talking to people who have ideas, who bring you,
Yes.
Yeah.
try this, try that. Um,
Yes.
to bring in the kinds of people to lead workshops, seminars, make presentations that you bring in, you have to be looking out and being accepting of people who are coming to you with great ideas. And that's what great leaders are.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the
Thank
best ideas themselves, but know how to recognize one and make it all work.
Well, we do have a board of directors. We meet regularly. They always have ideas. They're always there to bounce off ideas and to help problem solve.
Right.
We also have an international group of ambassadors who help us to accurately localize our messaging and our ideas to those different countries. So when we're talking to Japan, it's not us speaking broken Japanese.
Right.
We're talking through someone who knows the voiceover community in
there.
Japan,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we are able to service that community.
And
the
by
same
the
thing
way,
with Mandarin, Arabic, English-speaking Africa.
By the way, they come to us. We don't know to go to them, so they come to us wanting to include their community,
Yeah.
and then we partner from there. They also translate for us too, written as well as speaking. But they also translate for us, and they do many other things besides that. But the point is that they come to us saying that they want their community within the Voice Arts Awards and SOVAS.
Yeah, and within this global sphere of it. So because I think within the next few years, we're going to become the Olympics of voiceover acting, because every country is going to be represented.
Well, I tell you, what you do has rubbed off on me because I've been associated with you. I have done teaching in Nigeria. Thank God.
Oh, really, Dave?
I would have loved to have gone, but it was the internet.
Oh, yes.
Also, in Egypt. Would love to go. As a matter of fact, Mo and I are like, we need to go to Africa next year. Let's just do that.
That's what we're thinking too, Dave.
And I collect African art, so
so does Rudy.
Just makes sense that I should be on my way over there. But so many people from so many places that show up to share this career that we have. This talent, these skills,
it's beautiful.
and find out about how what's the business like here as opposed to here? How can we make it more prosperous for African voiceover talent, or Japanese voiceover talent, or Arabic voiceover talent? And I hear all the time that we don't have it as good as you guys in the United States. We're not getting paid, but we're beginning to create a community, perhaps even unions, that will help that.
Yes.
And I believe the Voice Arts Awards is the impetus.
Yes.
For what we're
been
hearing.
Very instrumental.
In a roundabout way, that's what I'm saying.
By the way, we do help people get their visas to come here. And sometimes with the Voice Arts Awards, people in those countries can't even get a date to their embassies to get their visas. So a lot of them don't show up because they can't show up, not because they didn't try to show up. So
they have to start early.
You have to start early.
But being a judge for the Voice Arts Awards is a big deal in many of these countries. Mm-hmm. It's a big deal anyway, because when you see the work that you're judging, you realize, my God, I would never have seen this.
Yeah,
this is something that would have totally been off the radar if I didn't have a chance.
Can you explain the judging, how that goes, please?
But it's so it is a significant, and you don't just ask to be a judge. We review your bio, your resume, and we have to hear from a professional reference.
Right.
That's how you get to be a judge.
I mean, once you judge.
And the only people who get some slack are people who have already won an award. So if you've already won an award in your category, then clearly
you can be a judge.
You have some chops to judge in that category. But we try to get people off the categories that they're specialists in, because they tend to have students in that category or work in that category.
Yeah.
Right.
And that gets difficult. Creates conflicts that we have to juggle when it comes time to choosing presenters, for example.
We're getting to the very end here. But I want to know, it goes by fast. It just goes by fast.
It does.
What is next? One of the things you mentioned was finding a successor for SOVAS. That's not for next year, I'm assuming.
No.
What's next with That's Voiceover and SOVAS and Joan and Rudy?
Well, it's an interesting question, because last year, and the reason we had Michelle Mitchell from Meta do her presentation this year, is that we started a new venue. I shouldn't say venue, but a new franchise we call SOVAS Next. And we spell next NXT. And she was the inaugural presenter of SOVAS Next. And the whole idea is to get people to think about where their career is going. like we have to think about where SOVAS is going, but to think about where their career is going, it's kind of a North Star concept to not only be doing what you're doing now, but to think about where you're going to take it next. How are you going to advance it? How will you get more joy from what you're doing? And we want to bring on speakers who talk about that kind of thinking,
like Dave
and who
Fennoy.
have examples of that in their lives and can share and inspire others to do their work.
And to see themselves through you.
It could even take you outside of voice acting. It's not about always climbing the same ladder. It's possible to swing off one bar onto another and do something fresh and different. But that's just kind of part of the thinking in terms of how do we keep extrapolating on what we provide for people to take advantage of. Aside from that, obviously television is a next step for us, and we're working on that behind the scenes.
And also, just to let people know too, the sponsors that we had, United Airlines was our official airlines for the Voice Arts Awards. Also, Audible came on board. Rudy and I pursued them for 10 years before they said yes. So there's so
Which
many
is interesting
lessons.
because from the very beginning, you have had audiobook narrators and
That's
various
right.
audiobook narrator categories. And I noticed that the producers of the audiobooks were not slow to enter their books and their
They're not.
narrators.
They're not.
Yeah.
It's a hopping scene. It's a hopping genre, right? But 10 years we pursued Audible, and they finally came on board.
So consistency pays off. And for a lot of people ask me sometimes about coming to the conference. Oh, I went to the conference last year, so I may go in a couple more years. But a big
It's
part of
different
what
every
makes
year.
There's
conferences
something
work
new every year.
network. Yeah,
Right.
There's
exactly.
something new every
And-
year.
and you become something regular. You become a consistent presence, and at some point you're going to meet that person. I've seen you around a lot. I never really stopped to talk to you, but here's what I do.
But people trust that. When they see you year after year and they're buyers, they trust that. I remember I was the voice of Promax for like 10 years. People, when I first started going to Promax, before I even became a voice, buyers would come up to me. We'd be talking. They say, you know what? You show up every year here. I'll start to trust that you are invested in your career.
Yeah.
And that is a fact. And that is how buyers think of us. They want you to show up for yourselves every year, like they show up for themselves.
They want to
There's no
be able to
difference.
trust your commitment to what you're doing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Dave. Exactly, Dave. And nothing less. Or why should they hire you?
Yeah.
And it's not something you're going to hear people verbalize. This is just what
Yeah.
happens in the ether as networking is taking place.
That's right.
Your presence becomes part of the experience for other people.
That's right.
I'm
And
reminded.
that's
I
not
read a
people-
sales book years ago. It said it's at least 5 touches with a client before something positive happens.
I
And,
believe it.
and I really believe sometimes people that are
Sure.
jumping in the business, their demo tape is out there, they're doing auditions and nothing's happening. I think sometimes like a hit record, you have to hear it a few times before, or you go, oh yeah, it is kind of snappy.
Yeah, that's
Right.
right.
So consistency,
That's right.
continuing to show up, and not just in your auditions, not just in your performances, but in your going to That's Voiceover.
Yes,
That's
because
right.
we are buyer based.
And it's
Yeah.
always new.
And it's every year, it's always new. Every year. And every year we up the ante.
This year, how many of this year there were literally
There were six
six,
auditions for jobs.
yeah,
this year.
six actual jobs.
Jobs.
And that's a focus for us. We're looking to make it a true job fair. That you go to That's
Right.
Voiceover, you say, I'm going to do the conference and I'm going to knock out a few auditions for
Right.
some new clients.
We are the only conference where you show up and you're already have some of the attendees already have success before they even show up.
They're showing up with a callback in hand.
That's
Oh
right.
yes, yeah, yeah,
This
fantastic.
is that whole piece of let's get voice actors working.
Yeah.
This conference is about your success.
Well, you know what? I mean, we're over time. We probably could go in a whole other hour, but I am so glad that you agreed to do this when you just got back from what I know how.
I know.
I left my luggage at the airport to get here.
I don't believe you.
Okay, it's
But
nobody
it was funny. It was funny.
Okay.
Listen. Love you guys. Mo
Dave,
sends.
we love you so much, Dave.
Oh, thank you.
Truly.
You're gonna make me cry, like you did when you told me I was getting the Legacy Award. And I'm just gonna say it one more time, and then I'm gonna let you go. I had been feeling some kind of way. I hadn't heard from you guys about this yet. I said, well, damn, I always do something. What? I haven't heard a call, no nothing. And then the phone rang, and of course, you know who's calling now. Well, I wasn't in a panic. I was just feeling some kind of way. And I'm not going to live or die by, that's voiceover and voice arts awards, but I always feel like I'm a part of it. So when you call them, oh, hey, how you doing? So you finally called. So what can I do for you this year? And you guys started laughing. And then you told me, and I started crying.
He did. You guys, he started crying. And not just a few tears.
I was verklempt. It wasn't that ugly cry.
No, it wasn't ugly cry. No.
It was a phone call, so I'm going to have to take your word on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, come on. You were there. You heard me.
To me, that was
I did.
a highlight, Dave, before that voiceover even started. I mean, really.
It was
that stayed with me for a couple of days.
Yeah, it still with me.
It meant a lot to me. That it meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it. You have no idea. You have no idea.
Hey, one of the things that I learned since creating an award, and especially in seeking out people to honor with it, is that it's the people who accept the honor that make the award special.
Yes.
It's not the other way around.
Yes.
So when
see how many lessons we've learned? It's like insane.
Gosh, you should write a book, and this time you guys write it.
We actually are.
How did I know? How did I know?
We are busy bees.
Listen, I'm gonna let you go. I love you guys. Mo says hello, and
we send her and tell her that she makes the best salmon.
Oh yeah,
ever.
You know, it's my recipe, right? I used to make when we were dating. I used to make that for her.
No, that sauce.
And you can tell her I told you.
Okay.
We love you, Mo. Thank you. You are the best. You're the hostess with the mostest, honey.
That she is. That she is.
Dave, we love you with all our hearts.
All right, you guys. I'll let you go. Okay. I'm going to have some dinner. She's out with her mom. I have to cook myself tonight. But it's probably bedtime for you guys.
Yeah.
Getting close.
Right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Everyone. Thank you for joining.
Ladies and gentlemen, there they go. Joan and Rudy, a couple of my favorite people, and should be everybody in this industry. They should be a couple of your favorite people. A reminder, this and all the other interviews for Ask Dave Fennoy Anything end up on my YouTube channel. They live there, Dave Fennoy Voiceover Training. If you'd like to work with me, DaveFennoy.com for coaching. You can follow me at Dave Fennoy VO on Twitter. And until the next time, I want you to book something.